Now, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned at the open of the show that there's an opportunity here momentarily if you want to speak. My guest has actually agreed, and I'm going to keep him as long as we need to because we're going to cover a lot of information. Phone number, it's 605-562-3140. Okay. Now, why will you want to speak with him? Well, let me tell you something. There is a new book published and released as of yesterday, hot off the press. As a matter of fact, the exclusive interview on FoxNews.com with Sean Hannity, Roger Stone, the author of that book, co-author of the book, along with Robert Morrow, the co-author of this bombshell investigation into the Clinton crime syndicate. It's titled The Clintons' War on Women. It's now available on Amazon.com, and we actually provided a link in today's episode. You can get a copy of that. I actually downloaded a copy of that book on Kindle. Hillary Clinton right now is running for president as an advocate of women and girls, but there is another shocking side to her story that has been carefully covered until now. This stunning expose reveals for the first time how Bill and Hillary Clinton systematically abused women and others sexually, physically, psychologically, in their scramble for power and wealth. In this groundbreaking book, New York Times bestselling author Roger Stone and researcher and alternative historian Robert Morrow map the arc of Bill and Hillary's crimes and cover-ups. They reveal details about their actions in Arkansas during Bill Clinton's time in the White House, about who really ordered the deadly attack on the Branch Davidian compound in Waco. Wait till you hear some of these details, because I know it's been a little while before since you heard some of these details about how the White House was run, how Hillary Clinton, in fact, was running the White House administration behind the scenes, and how the Attorney General at the time over the Department of Justice calling for the killing of these babies, these children at Waco during Hillary's tenure. While she was Secretary of State, there are some things to expose there, of course, and about their time at the Clinton Foundation and during Hillary's current campaign for president. I'm so honored to have Robert Morrow exclusively to talk about the book. I've had him on before, but Robert Morrow, welcome back to the Pete Santilli Show, sir.
Pete, it's an honor to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. And, you know, I've been fighting the fight in my own Pete Santilli kind of talk show host way. And, you know, I have for many years now been after Hillary Clinton because of what I know to be her acts of what I believe to be treason against the United States of America. When I found out about how she acted during Benghazi and how that whole charade throughout that time, that's when I really realized how evil this woman was. And as a result of that research that I did, that's how I came into contact with you. And then I discovered that you have been doing this research as a historian of all things Clinton for many, many years now, if not decades. Is that correct? How long have you been researching the Clintons?
10 years. I have 400 plus books on the Clintons. I mean, I say as humbly as I can, I'm one of the nation's top experts on Bill and Hillary Clinton, and I'm glad to offer my expertise to you and your listeners tonight. And I'm certainly willing to accept questions and phone calls.
Fantastic. Thank you. And as a matter of fact, just to remind everybody, the telephone number, and you need to get in right now because we're going to do it on a first come, first serve basis later on in the show. But get in the queue at 605-562-3140. And the code, of course, is 407-265. Robert Morrow, let's do this, okay? I'm going to keep you as long as I need to keep you to go through this and educate our listeners. The Clintons' rise to power. Obviously, with Bill Clinton's rise to power in the state of Arkansas, was fueled by criminal activity. And I found out through people that they were actually involved in drug trafficking. I mean, what is the genesis of that criminal activity? Where did it begin? And is that a factual statement for me to say that that it was their political careers were fueled by criminal activity?
Yes, Bill Clinton's career has been fueled by criminal activity. He was recruited by the CIA when he was at Oxford, and we know that because Cord Meyer, a long-time CIA operative who ran Operation Mockingbird, their media manipulation program, he either personally or he had friends recruit Bill Clinton in 1968 at Oxford to basically spy on his anti-war buddies, report to the CIA, and then also go on a trip to Eastern Europe and Russia. That's how he got involved with the CIA.
So the story that he gave, just like our current NDAA basketball dribbler in chief, Barack Obama, saying that he's a constitutional attorney and scholar, is it true that Bill Clinton is not a Oxford Rhodes Scholar?
No, he is a Rhodes Scholar. He's a Rhodes Scholar rapist. So Bill Clinton got into Oxford in 1968. He raped a girl named Eileen Wellstone and got kicked out of Oxford in 1969. And pardon if I cough, I have allergies and everything.
No, it's okay.
And so he raped her. And Capitol Hill Blue reported on this in 1999. They found a retired State Department employee who said that we had to kick him out of Oxford. We didn't want a Rhodes Scholar accused of rape. That's his first rape. Eileen Wellstone, age 19. You can Google that. Eileen
Wellstone. So his sexual deviancy, very early on, he was abusive to women. How did this convergence take place between he and, at the time, if you look at it, and I don't mean to be critical of Hillary Clinton, but she wasn't the most attractive person way back then. I find her to be more attractive than she was back then. But how did they converge, and how did they come together? And did he sexually abuse her early on?
Okay, Bill Clinton may have raped Hillary too. Bill and Hillary met the next year at Yale Law School. After he got kicked out of Oxford, he went on a trip for the CIA. Then he goes to Yale. He meets Hillary there. They start dating. They start living together. He's cheating on her. Even when they really were having sex back in 1970. How many years ago is that from now? Is it like 45 years ago?
Wow.
So, and then she helps him run for Congress. They're involved in the McGovern campaign in 72. Bill's in Austin, Texas. She's in San Antonio registering voters. Bill's cheating on her then, in 72. Then there's the 1974 congressional campaign that he runs. He runs a fantastic campaign. He has a cult-like following. He almost beats a Republican incumbent named John Paul Hammerschmidt in Arkansas, barely loses. Hillary is on the House Impeachment Committee up in D.C. while he's down in Arkansas campaigning and screwing every single girl he possibly can. He has a girl in every county in his congressional district. He has 2 or 3 who he's told he's going to marry, and they're not named Hillary. He's a psychopathic sexual manipulator, abusive, psychologically abusive, reels them in, gets them in love with him, and then just as brutal as he can possibly be. So Hillary comes down and tries to run some of those girls off. Bill loses, and even though he lost, he's still a young political hero in Arkansas. So he wants to marry Hillary so she can run his political campaigns, but he still wants to screw other women, okay, like constantly. So they marry the next year, October 11th, 1975. Bill Clinton, on his wedding day, at his wedding reception, is making out with another woman in the bathroom and fondling her breast. That's day one. Okay?
Yeah.
So he goes to school, teach at the University of Arkansas Law School, whereupon he's constantly hitting on the co-eds, and he's screwing a lady named Diane Blair, who's married, who happens to be Hillary Clinton's best friend. So he's screwing her best friend after they've been married. So he has some pretty intense psychopathic sexual behavior from day one, and it gets worse. But go ahead and ask a question.
Yeah, my question is, this stuff is pretty well documented. Therefore, it's pretty safe to assume that Hillary Clinton would have access to the same information that you do. Is that correct? This stuff is documented. You're not just pulling names and stories out of the sky. You have.
She knows more than I do, and she hates him. Okay, she cannot stand Bill. On her emails, she doesn't put down HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton is her email address. She puts down HDR, Hillary Diane Rodham, 22 at, clintonemail.com. So, but can I plug my book real quick, Pete?
Oh, are you kidding me? Absolutely. We're definitely, I mean, this is all about your book.
I just want to let folks know that you can read all this stuff in The Clintons' War on Women by Robert Morrow and Roger Stone, on sale now at Amazon. And we have just filled to the brim with all this blockbuster psychopathy of the Clintons. But we haven't really got into their criminality yet. They had to lay the foundation to understand that Bill and Hillary have had a sham, dysfunctional 1970s open marriage from the very beginning. Okay, so he's making out with another woman at his wedding reception. He's screwing his wife's best friend, Diane Blair, when they're professors at the University of Arkansas Law School. Mm-hmm. Then he becomes Attorney General in '76. Then he becomes obsessed with a woman named Jennifer Flowers.
Now, Robert, this is a good segue, as a matter of fact, to one of my questions, and I was going to lay the groundwork here, leading right up to the book. When you put this material, all this research that you've done, all the documentation that exists, you put it into a book, it's not like just doing some, small little rinky-dink Pete Santilli show a couple of years ago when you first came on. We were just out hell-raising. I mean, you put this in a book, and if you're factually incorrect, you could be potentially liable for doing so. So you had to cross your T's, dot your I's.
Skyhorse Publishing had a lawyer that read and went over every single sentence in our book.
Okay.
Okay. He put it under the complete microscope. So, everything we have is up to his standards and my standards as well.
Okay.
We have a tremendous amount. So Jennifer Flowers. So the whole point of what I'm getting at, Pete, is the Clintons' war on women. It's not that Bill Clinton is a rake or a Lothario. It's that he's a rapist, pervert, a serial sexual predator who rapes women, bites women, exposes himself to women. Then he uses his little phony wife, Hillary, to hire the nasty private detectives to run the terror campaigns, to beat up people, to break into their apartments, to ransack their apartments, death threats to them, death threats to their children, nail gunning their tires, smashing their car windows, killing their cat Bullseye in the case of Kathleen Willey.
Yep, Robert, we're going to take a short break here. Okay, when we come back, let's come right out of the gates here, because it does matter, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just picking on Hillary Clinton for political purposes. This is a woman that's running around claiming that she is defending women's rights, and in fact, when we come back, Robert Morrow, give me a rough estimation of how many instances where Bill Clinton has, through his sexual deviancy, abused women, and Hillary was directly right there helping to cover it up. How many instances? Is it one-off? Is it 2, 3 instances? We're going to hear from Robert Morrow right after this. You guys, you can go to the link and get that book right in today's description and this episode 1077. Order that book, download it now on Kindle, or get a hard copy. We'll be right back with Robert Morrow. Right, and this segment is brought to you by shipandfix.com. Phone and tablet repair made easy. Robert Morrow will be taking your calls towards the end of the segment. A lot of information to cover. Before we went to the break, I asked Robert a question about the number. This isn't just a one-off. This is a woman now that is at the podium claiming to be defending women's rights with a multi-decade history of, in fact, covering up the sexual abuses, the criminal activity of her husband in their insatiable quest for power and her rise to power that got her to the podium. She's done it for many years. How many women do you think she has known about that were abused by Bill Clinton, and she's helped to cover up the facts surrounding his sexual deviancy?
Well, there are two kinds of women. There are the women that he sexually abused that got covered up, and there are the women that he had an affair with, and then the Clintons terrorized into silence in a psychological rape. But I'll go ahead and read you a list, probably about 20 people, and here we go. So get ready, folks. I'm going to read you the Clinton rape, terror campaign, sexual assault, and psychological abuse list. Eileen Wellstone, rape, 1969. She's on the record about that. Anonymous woman, 1972, assaulted by Bill at Yale. Source, Capitol Blue. Anonymous anonymous woman, 74, assaulted by Professor Bill Clinton at Oxford, source Capitol Hill Blue. Marla Kreider, 1974, a beautiful brunette co-ed who Bill Clinton, was dating. Of course, he was dating all these girls. Hillary was very jealous of her, used her brothers Tony and Huey to stalk, harass, and run off the 1974 Clinton campaign. Hillary also made a bunch of anonymous phone calls where you hang up, where you call and hang up, call and hang up, call and hang up. Hillary was obsessed with Marla Kreider. Juanita Broderick, campaign volunteer, Attorney General Bill Clinton raped 1978. Carolyn Moffett. These are all names that are on the record. Okay, you can Google them. Carolyn Moffett, 1979. Bill exposed himself to her, grabbed her head, and shoved it in his lap. That's where his crooked little thing was. And he didn't have a big thing because we got a lot of women that know what his unit looks like. It's like Paula Jones said, it's crooked, hard, and gross. It's disgusting. So Moffett, that was an exposure. Remember, we're exposing himself to her in 79. 12 years later, he is still behaving that way to Paula Jones in 1991. So we have another anonymous lady lawyer, 1980. Bill grotesquely sexually assaulted her and bit her. Source, author Roger Morris in his book Partners in Power. We had that in our book, and she was bitten by Bill. I'm going to keep going. Danny Williams, his only son, who he has abandoned and never hugged, never loved, never nurtured, never given money to. His mother is a street hooker named Bobby Ann Williams, African-American lady who Bill Clinton, had an affair with 13 times and it did not use a condom. 1985, what does Bill Clinton do? He tries to screw the nanny of Chelsea. Tried to fuck the nanny. Okay? So, and who is Becky Brown? She's the girlfriend of his favorite state trooper, L.D. Brown. So he's trying to screw the girlfriend of one of his closest friends, the nanny.
Jeez.
Helen Dowdy, 86. Bill crudely groped her on the dance floor. Don and Kevin Eyes, 1987. They were killed by members of the drug trade in Arkansas. Bill Clinton covered up the deaths of the boys on the track by supporting a crooked medical examiner named Fahmy Malak. Jennifer Flowers, here's an example. Pardon my coughing, folks. I got allergies.
That's okay.
Jennifer Flowers had a hot and heavy affair with Bill Clinton, 1977 to 1989, okay? That's not where the abuse comes in. Abuse comes in 1991. Bill Clinton's running for president. He fears Jennifer Flowers going public and upsetting the apple cart of his campaign. The Clinton goons break into her apartment multiple times, and they ultimately ransack it. She goes on for pages about this in her book, Passionate Betrayal. She talks about all the sex she had with Bill, all the kinky sex, and they'd be melting ice cubes on each other, and they would go to the refrigerator and rub ketchup on each other and mustard and mayonnaise and honey and just drip it all over each other. Bill wanted to tie up Jennifer, but she wouldn't allow that, so she tied him up and then addressed him with a vibrating dildo, and he loved that. Bill Clinton did. So Bill did not want all this to come out in 1991, right? So he is just terrified Jennifer Flowers is going to go public, and screw up his campaign. And see, the reason they had to silence Jennifer Flowers, pardon me, is because she's the Pandora's box. You open one woman, then 30 more come out, and then the campaign goes down the drain. So we go on to 1991, Kathy Ferguson. Oh, by the way, she's the girlfriend of one of his state troopers. Bill Clinton corners her in the kitchen, pinned her to the countertop, and tried to have sex with her. Connie Hamzy, laying outside a pool. Bill Clinton tries to have sex with her. She's consensual about this. But when she's going to go public about that, they coordinate a lying campaign and get 5 Clinton cronies to sign false affidavits. 1991, Sandra Allen James. Bill Clinton sexually assaulted her in Washington, D.C. as he pinned her against the wall and put his hand up her dress as she screamed. You can Google that. Sandra Allen James, Bill Clinton. We're going through the list. Sally Perdue, former Miss Arkansas. Bill Clinton has screwed 5 Miss Arkansas that we know of. 2 of them were African-American ladies, and one of them he raped. Have you ever been out on a date with Miss America? Bill Clinton's raped Miss America. How about that?
Wow.
Liz Ward Grace in 1983. She's never publicly said it was a rape. However, it was a rape. Sally Perdue. So that's another one that he had an affair with. So he didn't rape her, right? He didn't beat her up. But she knew that he was using cocaine. She knew that she'd had many sexual experiences with him while he's wearing her nightgown and playing the saxophone and tripping while he's doing that. So they had to terrorize her in 1992, and they were sending her letters saying stuff like Marilyn Monroe got snuffed. And so finally they busted out the window of her Jeep, just like they defaced Kathleen Willie's car with multiple nail gunnings of her tires to terrify her before Paula Jones' deposition. So we're talking thug tactics. The Clintons hired 2 guys that you may have heard of. Anthony Pellicano, nasty private detective who's now in jail, in a West Texas jail, because he terrorized half of Hollywood, and the other half of Hollywood got mad and got him thrown in jail. And Jack Palladino, who should be in jail. 1992, Jack Palladino is going around knocking on the doors of Jennifer Flowers' neighbors and saying, is Jennifer Flowers the kind of person to commit suicide? Meaning, we're going to kill you and make it look like a suicide. Dolly Cal Browning, Bill Clinton's friend since he was 12 years old and she was 11. So we're talking a longtime friend. And then they had an affair while he's married to Hillary. And the Dolly Cal is a very attractive Southern lady, okay? And Hillary Clinton looked like roadkill, you know, especially back then when she had hair on her legs and she would dress like a lesbian and, you know, wouldn't shave her armpits, and she smelled, and she had greasy hair and a kind of an angry Little Dyke attitude. Bill liked Dolly Cal a lot more, but when the 92 campaign came into session, Clinton campaign told her, if you talk, we will destroy you. We will destroy you. Christy Zurcher, she was a stewardess on Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign airplane called Longhorn 1. So Bill Clinton, you know, when Hillary's not on the plane, he is out of control. He has got his hands on the stewardesses. He is making sexual comments. Christy Zurcher said he would take his finger and twirl honey in his tea, and then he would suck his finger like he was giving it oral sex, like, and then be looking at Christy like, you know, what you saying? You like that?
Where do you get this information from, by the way? Is this from like depositions or affidavits?
Where do you get it from?
By the victims.
Zurcher. She's on the record with that. She told the tabloids that Bill would he would get his honey, he'd put in the tea, and now Hillary's not on the plane. Sometimes when Hillary's on the plane, he is literally grabbing their titties, and Hillary's asleep 6 feet away. I'm just got my hands on her breast right now. Hillary cannot see me. I love sinning at the foot of the cross. Bill used to say that to his state troopers. You like to sin at the foot of the cross.
Oh, are you kidding
commit
me?
sin and just barely get away with it, you know. So, but he'd be sucking his thumb, his finger going, you like that? You good at that, Christy? So, Christy's, I'm not through yet. So we have a very seriously sexually demented, abusive sex freak who's raped and bit multiple women. Eileen Wellstone, 69. Juanita Broderick, 78. Liz Ward Grayson, 83. Now, how do we know that you raped Liz Ward Grayson? Because she told her best friend, Judy Stokes, that my affair with Bill Clinton was not consensual. It was a rape, as tears rolled down her cheeks. And Judy Stokes told that to the Paula Jones investigators. You know, Ken Starr, who was the special prosecutor, was freaking worthless. The ones doing the real work in the 1990s were the Paula Jones lawyers and investigators that are saying, we're going to take down this sick bastard Bill Clinton. We're going to find the women that he has abused. Ken Starr, God help him, he was doing nothing. So I'm not done yet. We're going to keep going down the list because you asked me to.
Oh, okay? Yeah, no. Keep going. Let me know when you finish your list because I have an important question, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer a question about it. But it's an impressive list of the people who they have raped, abused, terrorized, broke into their homes. They beat up Gary Johnson in 1992. Mm-hmm. That's Larry Nichols' lawyer. You know why they beat him up? Because he had a videotape of Bill Clinton going into Jennifer Flowers' condominium. And they were lying about Jennifer Flowers in 92, saying she's making it up. Bill barely even knows her. She's lying. And this guy had proof. So Bill Clinton, sent his 3 inner circle state troopers, beat this guy to a pulp, and took the security camera videotape that had Bill Clinton on it.
Hmm. Did you?
So we go on to Larry Nichols.
Yes, sir. I was just going to ask you that. Please go into Larry Nichols, please.
All right. Larry Nichols is very important. I would say he is a internet friend of mine, but he was a Clinton goon of the first degree. He's done a lot of very shameful, illegal acts for the Clintons. So he was a Clinton insider for 10 years. He was there in 1978 when Bill raped Hillary Clinton, and Hillary comes running into the campaign headquarters and says, "You will not believe what the MF Bill did. He just raped some bitch." That's Hillary Clinton talking about a rape victim. That is the lady who started the Arkansas Rape Crisis Center. So then Larry Nichols is also there when Bill Clinton is telling him that he's not the father of Chelsea Clinton and that Webb Hubbell sired her. He's also there when Betsy Wright, Bill Clinton's, she really is a bull dyke. Betsy Wright tells Larry Nichols that Webb Hubbell, that Bill Clinton has been to drug rehab 4 times in Minnesota, probably at the Betty Ford Clinic. Bill Clinton was a seriously addicted cocaine addict while he was governor of Arkansas, and that was covered up. He was as addicted as his brother Roger. His brother Roger was caught on a police videotape saying, "I got to get some more for my brother. He's got a nose like a vacuum cleaner, kind of like this. Have some more. One more hit, Roger. All right, let's go party with your 17-year-old groupie girls."
Oh my God!
Bill and Roger used to party with high school girls when he was the governor of Arkansas. Jeez. And one of them they tried to turn into a prostitute. His friend Dan Lasser did. So Larry Nichols is important because his lawyer Gary Johnson had the proof of Bill Clinton having an affair with Jennifer Flowers. Clinton sent his 3 inner circle state troopers, Tommy Baker, Larry Patterson, and Roger Perry. The last 2 hate Bill Clinton now. And according to them, Tommy Baker beat Gary Johnson to a pulp, broke his arm, smashed his nose in, ruptured his bladder, ruptured his spleen, and left him laying for dead on the floor. This is all in our book, The Clintons' War on Women, by Robert Morrow and Roger Stone. You can buy it on Amazon.com.
Do you make any mention of Larry Nichols' involvement in Clinton's cover-ups and crimes?
Well, it's hard to tell what Larry is telling the truth about and what he isn't.
Yes, sir.
He came on your show and admitted to doing a bunch of murders. Did he do them or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
He tells me that he's the one who castrated, Wayne Dumont.
Yes, sir.
Who raped one of Bill Clinton's cousins, and Larry Nichols very well may have done that. I can believe that. Yeah. Remember, Larry Nichols was best friends with Raymond Buddy Young. That's Bill Clinton's head goon for 15 years. Okay?
Right. Yep.
That's bad.
If you don't mind
being a blood brother with the mafia.
Robert, I know you got allergies. We're going to take a short break here. We come back. I just want to just finish up with Larry Nichols. Why is Larry Nichols never being held accountable? I mean, Hillary Clinton's not being held. Bill isn't. We'll be right back with Robert Morrow. Yep.